On today's video, I'd like to talk about growing coffee as a house plant. Coffee is actually an excellent choice as a house plant. It's one of America's favorite drug plants. We have several, but this probably is the most widely consumed drug in North America, caffeine. It also happens to be a very beautiful plant, a member of the gardenia family. It has fragrant flowers like the gardenia that are pretty. It makes berries. So coffee being an agricultural crop, it's pretty tough character. This is a really difficult plant to kill, even as a house plant in the field. Not easy to destroy a coffee plant. Making it a good candidate as a house plant. Because like I say, it is pretty, it's a useful plant, we all know it. It survives better than so many house plants. This is easier than a ficus, for instance. Coffee's requirements are pretty simple as a house plant. This is an easy one. It's not a wimpy tropical or something that will drop dead when you eat an ice cream cone in July or anything like that. It's a good looking plant, and it will actually make coffee inside of the house. I have done this before while living in the mainland. Fruited coffee in several locations. You don't need real big pots. This one right here is in a 1-gallon container. That's a good sized plant. This happens to be dwarf Catera variety, and dwarf Catera is a very good choice if you're going to grow a coffee plant in the house because it's small. On the other hand, Kona coffee here from Hawaii is also very popular, and it grows really well too. Let's take a look at where this all starts. The coffee plant in your living room window started right here at one point in time. This plant in front of us is a mature dwarf Catera. You'll see that it's loaded in coffee cherries. See them? Oh man, look at that crop. This is beautiful. Now these are going to turn bright red, and when they do, it'll be time to harvest coffee. Right over here, and considerably taller, is a Kona coffee. And the Kona coffee grows well, looks good too, makes lots of seeds and whatnot, but it is a lot bigger plant. And once the coffee ripens, and we extract the seeds out of the cherry, and then the seeds are pretty much immediately planted in mass in flats, like this right here. Here's a whole flat full of dwarf Catera. I find the seed actually comes up better when I mass plant it this way. So if you want to grow your own coffee plants from the beginning, first you have to acquire some fresh seed, and then you just plant the seed, and then you give it about 6 months, because it's going to take you between 3 and 6 months for the seed to germinate and come to this size here. Well, once we grow the seed out for a while, and it gets to the first true leaves, then I usually transplant into 3.5 or 4-inch pots like this one here. This coffee plant is at this point probably about 12 months old to get to this size. Again, pretty easy, not a difficult plant. Most coffee plants sold commercially are usually sold in 3 or 4-inch containers. They're easier to transplant into the field that way. They're easier to ship. On occasions, you will find larger specimens. I know when I ran the nursery in California, I did have some in 5 and 15-gallon containers that were available at a pretty good price. But those would be size that were fruiting. Usually a 3 or 4-inch pot is probably what you're going to come up with. This plant right here was a 4-inch pot coffee about 2 years ago. And so this is an additional year above the smaller plant, you see. They grow relatively quickly. It's not a real slow plant. It's just about right. That's why it makes a good house plant. So, as far as the culture is concerned, coffee will take full sun. Now in the tropics it's often shade grown, but as you get further north, you're definitely going to want to give that plant plenty of light, and so it can actually be an outdoor patio plant during the summer if you choose. Otherwise, it can simply live in your greenhouse or in the window like a house plant. It needs bright light though. I suggest an east to southeastern exposure for coffee. good picture window, patio door, something on that order. If you have plenty of light, the plant will flower, and that's the cool part, and produce the coffee inside your house. The plant has special requirements as far as soil and fertilizers. The soils for coffee should be a low pH, that is an acidic soil. And so when transplanting your coffee, I would search for potting soils that are designed for azaleas, camellias, rhododendrons, blueberries. That sort of a soil has a pH that's going to be 6 or lower. That's really good for coffee. Coffee loves pH somewhere between 5.2 and 6.2. Keeps it very happy. It stays nice and green. Fertilizers, it helps if you use an acidic fertilizer. Again, one labeled for azaleas. I know Osmocote has a time-release acid fertilizer that works really well. So it's probably about the only specialized requirements for coffee. Nice drainage, good quality soil, acidic soil, acid fertilizers, plenty of light. If you happen to get any kind of insect outbreaks on it, that would usually amount to perhaps scale. Scale can get on coffee. Then you can use a horticultural oil to control that problem. So there you have it. Coffee. Is it the perfect houseplant? Well, I don't know if it's perfect, but it's a darn good houseplant. Underrated. Totally underrated. Very simple. And I highly recommend attempting to raise coffee in the window of your house. Aloha. Happy gardening. Hang loose. Drink more coffee. It's good for you.